It's great to speak with you today, Renaud, and I look forward to hearing your views on why Chinese factories should avoid full automation. Can you start by providing a brief background of yourself?
Hi, Dustin. Great to be here. Um, okay, in 1 or 2 minutes. In 2005, after I finished my studies and after I worked a little bit in France, I moved to Hong Kong, went to work in a small trading company, um, pretty small trading company. So I was involved on the sales side, but also on the supplier management side, quality control side. And it's really a very tough job. So after 18 months, I quit. I really had enough of being in the middle and taking all the hits. So I set up my quality assurance agency in South China, and since then I've helped tens of importers, mostly from Western Europe and North America. I have visited probably hundreds of factories, in many different industries. Um, the main services that we provide, the main sources of our work are the factory audits, meaning that we go in the factory and we check them, we check their processes, we check what they're doing, what kind of quality system they have, and so on. And that's for the importer that wants to qualify the manufacturers he works with before he places an order. And the other types of service that we provide is the quality inspections. So we go in and we check the quality of the products, basically, check if the specifications are respected, check if there are not too many defects, if the packaging is right, and so on, just to help the buyer confirm that quality is all right and he can allow the supplier to ship. So I have talked to a lot of manufacturers, and one of their big concern, of course, is the rise of all their costs and the brutal price competition that they have to face. And they usually complain a lot about their staff. And one of their fantasies is to completely automate production. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you. Can you start by talking about how do you define full automation?
Sure. Well, let's say there are two kinds of automation, and I'm talking about automating a process, or like you have people working for making stuff, right? Okay, full automation consists of actually replacing the workers. Okay, you're going to have just machines. Just ideally one big machine will get the components or the raw materials in and will churn out, fully packaged products at the end. That's the dream. That's full automation. Now, there's also another kind of automation that we would call semi-automation. And as an example, you can take rifles to drive that point home. You have automatic rifles and semi-automatic rifles, right? What's the difference? The semi-automatic rifle will only shoot when you pull the trigger. Manually you pull the trigger and the machine does the rest. In the automatic weapon, you just keep the trigger pressed and it just keeps shooting. You don't need the human to take any decision, right? So that's full automation. Big, expensive machine, high-speed machine that once it's set up the right way for one kind of product, hopefully will churn out thousands of pieces in short amount of time and without human intervention. Well, that's the idea anyway. So yeah, and in reality, it's not that simple.
Can you talk about why Chinese factories should avoid full automation?
All right. So they have this fantasy of replacing all their workers. So they naturally think of full automation. They can just buy big machines. They don't have to manage them. They can just turn the lights off. Well, the problem is that when they do it, some of them have already done it. It's not that simple, right? Okay, it's a big investment that they know, but what they don't know is that first, these machines are not necessarily very stable, meaning that they will break down or have some kind of disruption that will make them produce defects. So when you have a very high-speed machine that, let's say, it produces 100 pieces per minute, okay, and there's a slight chance that it might go wrong and then produce only defects. Well, what do? You post one person in front just to tend to the machine and just keep watching. So, and that's what happens. That's what you see in Chinese factories. Very often you have a guy just watching the machine, not doing anything, because if something goes wrong, it just presses the stop button. Well, right here, your labor costs are not disappearing. The second reason is that you still need some staff, but not the same kind of staff to set up the machines, right? And to maintain them. So you need engineers who are paid easily 4 or 5 times the salary of the cheap line worker who was doing a very simple manual job. So not only you still need some people, but these people are more difficult to hire and more difficult to keep. And per person, the salary is much higher. Reason number 3 is, as I say, these machines are very high-speed machines, very expensive machines that tend to have long setup times. Now, what that means is that it might be very well adapted for runs of, let's say, 50,000 pieces, but how many customers do they really have that can place these kind of orders? What are they going to do with all the small and medium-sized customers? All of a sudden, it's not economically interesting for these manufacturers to serve all these small and medium customers, right? And the width of their products, of the products they can make, all of a sudden gets narrowed to just 2 or 3 kinds of products. So that's a very big problem. I was talking to the girlfriend of a friend of mine who works in a printing factory in Shenzhen. And at the beginning, okay, it was a smaller factory, and they had mostly manual operations, so it was semi-automated, right? They had some machines, but there was a lot of manual labor around the machines. So setup times were pretty short, and they could do small runs, and they could work on the jobs of small print shops. Now, they wanted to go to the next step. They invested, they got big machines, and all these small orders, now they cannot take them anymore. But these small orders, used to be, well paid. But now they have to compete in the high quantity, for the high quantity orders that all Chinese factories are competing for. So, and once you can buy these big machines, you can bet a lot of competitors are also going to buy these same machines. So, in the end, maybe at the beginning you don't have much competition, but after 2 or 3 years, you have a lot of competition, and it's very easy to compare prices, and they all come out of the same machines. So that's a huge problem. This necessity to accept only large orders. And that's why is it such a big problem? Let's say, okay, let's look at the American buyers, right? Why do American buyers source in China? A lot of them have the choice. A lot of them buy some products in the US and some products in China. What do they buy in the US? Very often they keep the large production runs in the US because in the US they have these fully automated factories already. They don't need that from China. Why do they need China? They need China because for the small and medium-sized orders, Chinese factories, since they are less automated, can do a higher variety of products in shorter, smaller production runs. And these factories are not really analyzing these Chinese factories that are, thinking of full automation. They're not analyzing the demand. They think, oh, we'll just buy these big machines and we're going to have a new kind of orders. We're going to just get big orders. But they don't see that there are not that many big orders actually of big production runs coming to China. So they're in for a big disappointment. Last month, I was talking to someone also in Shenzhen who works in a PCB factory. So it's a big factory, 3,000 people. And 2 years ago, they said, all right, we're going to invest, labor cost is going up dramatically. Let's just automate. Let's buy these big machines. And now what do they find out? That their costs are higher. Well, because, it's not that simple in advance to predict what the exact cost is going to be with these big machines. They're not very good at that. And of course, the salespeople from the machines manufacturers are just going to paint the rosy picture, right? So I just say usually be careful. First, go for semi-automation. You have some staff working, just focus on making them more productive. So, buy them some devices, think of new tools and dies and fixtures to help them, do the job faster, easier, with higher quality. And there's huge gains waiting for manufacturers to go down that road because labor productivity in China is not very high. There's a lot of, low-hanging fruits to seize right here. So before they start going to full automation, they should really work hard on semi-automation. And it takes a lot of creativity. So, sometimes do some operations that need two hands, maybe, give them something like a pedal to operate by the foot, and then right away, it frees up one hand that can do something else. And it's this kind of thinking. So first, go down that road. And then if you really want to go to full automation after that, first analyze your demand and make pretty damn sure that you will have these big orders for long production runs. So that's my advice for Chinese manufacturers.
Thank you. Did you have any other recommendations?
On this topic, no, I think I tried to explain it as well as I could.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dustin.